Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. I am your host, Stephen Nooner.
And this is Bob Gibbons, and we're excited about today's guest, Ed Christmas. Not just because Christmas is coming, but because Ed is a brilliant guy. I'm actually, this is one of the ones I've been looking forward to the most because we're talking about a lot of things in the future. Ed is the founder and president of Sology Solutions, and you can find him at sologysolutions.com. And they are all into the Internet of Things and smart cities, and we have so much to talk about. It's going to be exciting. But Ed has been in the business for a very long time, 25 years. He's been with some big companies like NEC, Ericsson, Motorola, etc. But in 2008, he had a different vision. He wanted to start his own company. So that's how Sology got started. They're based in Richardson, Texas. He went to school at the State University of New York and got an MBA in finance from Adelphi University. Where's the Adelphi University?
Garden City, Long Island.
Long Island, okay, still New York. Cool, and he's been in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. So welcome, Ed. Glad
Thank
you're here.
you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, we like to start off every show with the wisdom of others, and today we have a quote that you provided by Andre Gide. I'm doing great at pronunciation today. You can never cross the ocean unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shores. Why is that important to you?
It's interesting. Coming from corporate America, you always have the idea of being an entrepreneur, and you're afraid to let go, right? So until you get that courage to say, I don't need the 401k plan, I don't need the financial, reoccurring revenue that comes to your household, and I'm going to take a risk and go out there, you won't be successful. And I know a lot of people in corporate that struggle with that.
Yeah. What's weird has always been weird for me as kind of growing up in entrepreneurship and having friends that spend a lot of time, the whole time I've been building a business, they've been in corporate building their careers, is how often it's sort of the illusion of security too that they're clinging to. Because I've seen some, just industry-wide, telecom, had a bunch of friends telecom, just got hammered. So
I come from that side.
Oh, do you? Okay.
And actually, it's interesting you say that. Until you start seeing that, you realize there isn't a security blanket, right? So why not take the risk and do something more rewarding?
Yeah, I mean, when I bailed out of the corporate world, I didn't realize it at the time, but I realized in retrospect, I had only one client. And when that client didn't need me anymore,
exactly,
I had no income either.
Exactly,
and no benefits.
Exactly.
So now, even though I'm self-employed and it's harder, and building my own company is a different animal altogether, at least I have a lot of clients. So if one ever goes away, it's frustrating. It hurts. It makes me, reflective and cry. Yeah.
And I think it's a trap too, right? If you do it younger where you don't have the financial commitments and everything, it's easier, right?
Absolutely.
You wait like me and waited till I'm, almost 50 years old to do it.
Yeah, so that's kind of curious. So how did that occur, and how did you end up starting your business?
So in corporate for 20 plus years, got to a point where it was getting old, a lot of travel, had young kids at the time, wife putting a lot of pressure on, let's do something different. I need you here at the house.
Yeah.
So always had the desire to do something, just that timing, afraid to let go of the, seeing the shore, right?
Sure.
But had an opportunity with a previous venture I was involved in, had a little bit of capital, so decided to do it.
So does that mean that you had somebody who came to you and said, I need this, and they said, I'll give you the contract? What does that mean?
No, what happened, I was with a private equity group out of New York, and we did some acquisitions and got a payout from that, and so decided to utilize that money to take the risk to go out there because I had that
Okay.
cushion, right?
Yes.
And make the move to start the
Yeah,
business.
kind of like me. I got a severance package, and
There you
that
go.
severance allowed me to have some running room.
Exactly.
To try and make it happen.
Exactly.
Without that, I would have been sunk.
Right.
So had you already been business planning in your mind, just not had the capital to do it, or was it kind of all at once, like just boom and now-
Always, even when I was in corporate, I was always in departments or groups that were on the cutting edge, entering new markets or new products. So always wanted to be in that area. So it was always in the back of my mind. Actually, the last venture I was with, I started to see a lot of growth in video surveillance, and that's what gave me the idea. Again, afraid to step away, but to your point, everything got aligned and decided to do it.
So what was the big idea? What was the business plan, if you will, for Sology Solutions?
At the time, it was video surveillance in the U.S. Prior to 9/11, video surveillance was kind of taboo. They felt like big brothers watching them.
Sure.
After 9/11, things changed. You saw two things happen. You saw the acceptance of surveillance in U.S., but also the technology was changing. It was going away from analog video to IP digital video. That's where I saw the opportunity. You had traditional security companies that didn't understand the networking. And then you had the networking companies that didn't understand security. So I saw there was a gap in the market.
So what was your plan? I mean, how were you just going to go out to like governments and
Yeah, we
say-
were going to capitalize on the growth of IP video, bringing video onto the IT backbone and leverage large enterprises that would have to store this data, have to manage it on their network. So we partnered with Cisco at the time, being that they were a strong networking company, and we felt like in a fragmented market, they would rise to the top in this area.
So kind of fast forwarding today, how has that evolved into what you guys are doing now, and what's your typical client engagement look like?
Yeah, spot on. So video at that time was an end device, right? It's nothing more than a sensor. So now we've transformed the company into IoT, Internet of Things, of all these devices coming on. So you have video sensors being a device, you have parking detectors being a device, you have door sensors being a device. So we've transformed the company into, we're going to bring all of these devices and sensors onto the network and manage them and be able to give the customer, data and information to make better decisions, quicker decisions, and optimize efficiency in their organizations.
So give us an example of that.
So something as simple as parking at the airport, you see it every day. Now you could, come into a garage or a parking lot and immediately know where to go to park. As a
Love that.
agency, as an agency, based on traffic and occupancy, you could even change your rates on that data. Let's say
Surge
there's
pricing.
yeah, exactly. There's a concert in the area, right? And my parking lots are getting full. Let's raise the price by 50%. And, increase revenues. So data has become the gold. The days of everyone's
Yeah.
mining for gold. Everyone wants data now because you're able to make real time decisions.
Interesting. So whenever I'm driving around, you're telling me there's all kinds of sensors around me doing stuff I have no idea about. And they may be monitoring me, or they just may be monitoring the environment around me.
Oh, they're
Exactly.
monitoring you, Bob.
They're looking
Well,
for
they
you.
should be.
No, you're spot on, Bob. We were just in a seminar, and there's sensors just about on every traffic intersection that's tracking that car or your Bluetooth device in that car and measuring. They know where the next sensor is. So if you're going down this street, they know what speed you're doing, and that's how they put these big digital signs on the highway saying average speed is 60 miles an hour and your approximate time is 12 minutes, because they're picking up that car and that
So
identification.
they're not just doing that with Waze.
No, they're doing it with sensors in your cars.
Real time watching the traffic flow.
Exactly.
Okay, I always wondered about that, because there's the private information through all these apps that people are downloading to their smartphones, and
Right.
then there's also all these sensors you're talking about. And for some reason, I guess I thought that there might be some interconnection between those, but not necessarily.
Not
you're saying.
necessarily.
Huh.
And, the future's autonomous vehicles, right?
Yeah.
So more and more sensors will become in this vehicle. I was speaking with someone yesterday, and they were like, how dangerous is it going to be? And I said, it's going to be a lot less dangerous than the distracted driver. We had DWIs and, the driver that was drunk. Now we're more concerned with the distracted driver with smartphones and everything. So cars, as they communicate with each other, today it's cars to infrastructure. Yeah. So we're not there. But when sensors between cars start communicating, saying, hey, Bob, you're too close. Steve, slow down a little bit. That's when it would become a lot safer for us.
I was just telling one of my friends the other day, I was like, I think within our kids' lifetime, cars will become guns, right? So it's like it'll be I can't believe you are doing this. You have this dangerous weapon that you're driving around
right.
with, because it's going to be so much safer to have
autonomous
the accidents
vehicle.
are going to be way down on
right.
autonomous vehicles. So you driving, a 73 Corvette is like, that's a death trap. You're going to kill someone, it's dangerous.
They say a kid born in the last 5 years will look at us like we looked at some of our grandparents, saying, you did horse and buggy? Like, really? You drove a car?
Well, I saw on your website, or on one of the videos on your website, which, by the way, for our listeners, go to sologysolutions.com. There's all kinds of websites that talk about all this kind of stuff and show you examples of it. And it's really fascinating. I saw on one of those something about somebody born today will probably never get a driver's license.
Correct. Absolutely.
That's hard to imagine. I mean, that's 16 years.
Right.
And we'll be there already in 16 years, you think?
Exactly.
Wow.
What blows me away is the shift. You said it initially when you're starting your business, it was seen as Big Brother and everything. But now,
Siri,
Alexa, we have stuff listening to us
all the time.
But it's still Big Brother, though. I mean, we're doing it voluntarily.
That's what I mean. Like, the mindset has shifted. I don't know if it's just convenience.
I don't even know if we're doing it voluntarily, because sometimes you don't even realize what you're doing. Every website you've gone to. I mean, this is all collected, right? They could tell where you shopped, Amazon, how much data does Amazon have from us from, what we buy and things like that.
Well, and Amazon has now just announced what they call Amazon Key, which is another level of Prime, where they will deliver the package inside your house, but they have a camera and they have an electronic lock on your house, and when they scan your package, it unlocks your door, it starts the video camera, they deliver it inside, and then they leave, and then they email you, hey, we just delivered this package, and here's the little video clip showing what we just did.
Right.
And I was describing this to my wife. She goes, yeah, did it also videotape my dog running out the front door?
Exactly.
Interesting. So we don't know who's using this data. We don't even know that the data is being collected. Should we be concerned with that?
Concern, yes. I mean, you hear stories from a security perspective. You just saw what happened to Equifax, right? I mean,
big time.
There should be concern, absolutely. Really, what I'm more concerned about is the revenue that's generated from this data that you didn't even know you were giving up. You have advertisers that are, tapping into the carriers, for example, and we just heard that the carriers can now sell this data, right? So you talk about target-based advertising.
Yeah.
It's just going to escalate.
Well, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, Ed's going to tell us what city life will look like 10 years from now. Stick around.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: knowledge is power. We all negotiate from a position of power and strength, or at least we want to. In any negotiation, the party with the most knowledge probably has the upper hand, and landlords count on this being the case whenever you're negotiating a lease, because most landlords are professional real estate investors and they hire professional leasing agents and property managers. Landlords are in the market every day negotiating leases, while tenants probably only negotiate one, maybe two leases every few years. So tenants feel outgunned. Don't let landlords have all the power. As a former landlord for 20 years, I understand how landlords think and what motivates them. So let me put that knowledge and experience to work on your side of the negotiation. To learn more, contact me at TexasTenantRep.com. Again, that's TexasTenantRep.com. rep.com.
Have you started making plans to take your business to the next level in 2016? Hi, I'm Stephen Nooner, founder and CEO of Alkali. We have a trademark process called the Empowered Advantage that enables CEOs, business owners, and entrepreneurs to more effectively buy and manage their insurance. Before sitting down to make your plans for the new year, here are just a few things to consider. Would you say that you have an actual insurance strategy, one that you can articulate, or have you just purchased a policy here and there over the years? If you have an insurance strategy, was it discussed under the pressure of a renewal deadline or considered earlier in the year to avoid fire drill decision making? If your answer was no to either of these questions, then you may not have the right partner on your team. Visit alkaliservices.com to contact us and take the next step to a bigger and better future.
My name is Wolf Hanshin, and I'm the co-founder of Peregrine Energy Partners. We bring energy to the mainstream investor, and also to this show, since it was clearly lacking with Bob and Steven.
Welcome back to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business. We're here with our guest, Ed Christmas of Sology Solutions, and you can find him on the web at sologysolutions.com. And by the way, Sology is spelled S-O-L-O-G-Y.
Solutions with an S.
Thank you for that helpful info.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I alluded this before we went to the break, and kind of used as a hook. I'm fascinated with all this emerging technology, and I know you do a lot of work in this area. So what's coming for the city? You mentioned airports, but I mean, that's just one little instance of, I think, the way cities are going to be changed by this technology. So if we're looking ahead, I mean, what's coming?
Yeah, I think some of the key areas in cities is sustainability, right? We have limited supplies of water and electricity, things like that. So you'll see AMI, advanced metering infrastructure, to manage that better. But the big things are transportation. How do we get around in the city? There's a huge trend of the young generation moving back in the city. So how do you make it a desirable place to be? And traffic is not a desirable
And it's not
place
just
for
the
anyone.
young. I mean, even people my age that are empty nesters are starting to see that as a good thing.
Absolutely. So you have the reverse. You remember everyone left the cities. People are going back into the cities. So transportation being one, convenience being another, environment being a key one. You never want to go where, you can't even take a run that day. So you'll see intelligence on your apps. For example, we're working with cities that will be able to pull up the city's apps and understand what's going on for the day, understand what venues they could go see, what availability for parking. The city itself will leverage operational efficiencies by not sending buses on a schedule, but by demand of where people are,
Wow.
being
Yeah.
able to sense where people are, be able to detect if they need to go empty a trash can in the park because the trash can has a sensor, as opposed to Monday through Thursday we go twice a day or something like that.
Wow, that's
All of these
efficiency.
sensors are giving information to
When
the city.
this technology has already replaced like the meter readers. Like,
bingo.
for example, there's no meter readers for my parking meter anymore, in there, or for my gas meter behind my house.
Exactly.
I mean, those people don't show up, so they're out of a job.
Right.
So they got to do new things. Are you finding that all this technology, is it going to make, you mentioned sustainability, so is all this technology going to make us so much more efficient that we need far fewer resources, or is it just allowing us to add more to the resources we've already got, as like population? Dallas is growing so fast.
Right. So I would say the latter there. It allows us to go on further with the resources we have, right? Because we'll be using them more efficiently. Being able to detect leakage. You take a golf course, how many sprinkler heads are busted and water's just, spilling. So these sensors will detect that a lot quicker and be able to be addressed.
You mentioned transportation. I think you guys did a pretty big project recently with DART. Is that?
We're doing a lot with DART. The other thing that I'll add into cities is safety and security. That's table stakes. You have to have a safe environment for your citizens. So we're doing a lot with cities as well as transportation. We're now putting cameras on the trains at DART, being able to put other sensors to detect smoke and things like that. Analytics will be a part of that. That's probably the next big wave when you talk about these video sensors, to be able to analyze what's going on. Demographics, for example, knowing the demographics of a particular station, what is that going to do? Drive targeted advertising to that station. So the big project was with Smart City Media. We're talking about digital kiosks to give information to citizens, be able to buy their passes for the transportation agency, as well as collect all of this information from a safety and security standpoint.
So do people, whenever these organizations, whether it's DART or a city or a big corporation or a nonprofit, a school system, whatever, whenever they install this kind of stuff, do they view this as a hardware kind of project, or do they really know what to do with the information and the data that it produces?
No, that's a great question, Bob. I think history has shown they do not know what to do with it. They know the upgrades required. They'll put in the infrastructure and software required. But we're all learning in this area. This, IoT, smart cities,
It's the Wild West.
Yeah, exactly. We're all trying to figure it out. You have companies like IBM, Accenture, big companies, Siemens, Cisco, that are fighting to say, who owns the data, who manages, what do you do with it, right? So that's yet to be determined how that works out.
Yeah, because I asked that question from the user standpoint, as in, the user is the city or the DART or whatever. But I almost get the sense that even the producers of these technologies really don't even know the total capabilities, and they're kind of figuring it out as they go as well.
I agree. What everyone does know, Bob, is it's valuable.
Oh, yeah.
So there's price tags on it. So that's what they're trying to get their arms around.
So I'd like to switch gears a little bit if I could. So,
Absolutely.
You started a company. I was researching before we came online. You're very, very actively involved in a lot of organizations. You've got a family. Like, how do you balance it all? And specifically, when you started your business, did you set out that, hey, I want to build a business, or was it I want a job type scenario, or what was?
No, that's a great question. I always try to get that message to future entrepreneurs. You have to decide, right? You could start a business to have a job and give you your self-security as a contractor, or you could start a business saying, I want to build something and either hand it off to my kids or sell it, whatever your exit strategy is. But it's very important you choose early, because there's a different level of commitment. So I believe the latter, the building something, takes a lot more sacrifice and commitment. You could never turn it off. And that becomes very challenging when you start talking about a balanced work life, right? So I've known entrepreneurs that lose their family and lose a lot of things for going that path. But if everyone knows, the end game, I think it's acceptable to put that amount of time in.
And when you say everyone, you're talking about your family?
Your family, your friends, because, you not only spend a lot of time away from your family, you spend a lot of time away from your friends or, buddies that you used to meet on Saturday afternoon.
I was talking to someone the other day, another entrepreneur, and they were telling me that eventually, from their perspective, it will always balance it. So you either need to balance it or it'll balance on its own. Meaning basically, like, if you ignore your family and your wife and that's where you see a lot of people lose it. Eventually you'll lose it and it'll come back into balance. It just may not be the outcome that you started wanting.
Well,
that's spot on.
We had a guest on the show quite a while ago, Mike Covert at Ignite Partnership Advertising Agency. And Mike told us on the air, you know what, I've lost pretty much all my friends because I've ignored them.
Right.
Building my business, I haven't been able to spend time with them. So he had as a very specific goal to reconnect with all those friends and start engaging them again and get a little more balance in his life. So I need to call Mike.
See if he'll return your call. See if you're on the friend list. You're above or below the line.
Friend or foe list.
I got another approach to that. I was telling someone the other day, the art of the deal is making your environment a part of your business. So, we have this big thing within the company, community. Sology is a community.
Sure.
We invite, people's friends to work, or, your family has to show up to work because a kid's sick or something like that. So you almost blend it so it doesn't feel like, I have to go to work today. It's a part of your environment.
Can I bring my dog?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So once you have these engagements, and let's say, my company is a client or whatever, how do I leverage all this information And how do I know that that information is there for me to leverage for my business purpose?
So that's part of the business outcome, right? As we go through the business requirements, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to achieve? Then we could define business outcomes. You want to be able to be more efficient in the particular area. Then we define that, we have tests, and then we provide you that data. Now we talk about how what do you want to do with that data?
So is a lot of this information, if it's being implemented by a governmental entity, can I get that information from them for free through the Freedom of Information Act?
And in a lot of cases, you can.
But I don't even know it's there.
You don't even know it's there. That's right. and they probably don't want you to know it's there because they'll be overwhelmed with the requests, right?
So if you have like just a general entrepreneur listening to the show doing whatever their industry is, right? To bring it down on the ground level for them, they maybe don't even know what Internet of Things is before hearing the show. How do they start to wrap their minds around what they need to be thinking about with their business? I mean, are there books? Are there case studies? Are there example things that people can read that might totally different industry might spark an idea that, hey, maybe there's application here?
Yeah, I would like to answer that different, just to put it in perspective.
Sure.
So today we have about 6 billion devices on the internet. I mean, the internet's changed the world, right? 6 billion devices, and we use it anywhere from shopping to getting a taxi with Uber or Lyft. There's going to be 50 billion devices by 2020. Wow. So the growth of devices coming onto the internet just gives you that much data. If you just take the concept, something as simple as grabbing a taxi ride and what the data allowed you to do, how you get a taxi different by just going to your phone, knowing where it's at, knowing how far away it is. That's going to happen in all these areas. So the thing I would ask our viewers to think about is, how does digitalization, because that's the term we're using, how does digitalization shake up or change what you're doing today?
And I'm constantly surprised by that, because even in my business where I'm in commercial real estate, I represent companies when they're looking for space to lease or buy for their company to occupy. And I keep trying to think, how can I implement technology to deliver that service better, or to create a broader range of services that I haven't thought of? And I'm apparently not that smart, because I'm still struggling with that question, but I'm seeing other people come up with a few things.
I've seen virtual tours. I've seen drones take pictures of,
and
rooftops
using,
of buildings.
like chatbots online. And so there's a lot of things happening now. Which one of those things are going to really make a significant difference or not, I don't know.
Right.
But we'll be continuing to monitor that. Well, Ed, I just feel like we can talk for another hour, but I know we don't have any more time. So thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you, guys.
It's really been interesting. I'm anxious to talk with you further.
Absolutely.
Please go to sologysolutions.com to learn more. If you want to learn more about this show, please go to nextlevelshow.com.
If you heard something today that someone else could benefit by hearing, please help spread the word through all the social medias.
And find us on podcast at The Next Level Show, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great week.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.